Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Palmer International World Companies, and welcome to our YouTube channel. The title for today is Election Wars and Race Wars over President Trump's victory or loss. We don't know where this is going, but we know a magnifying war for the presidency is here today. I've been telling you many months ago that there will be a war, and it's either going to be Biden or it's going to be Trump. Or it's going to be Trump or it's going to be Biden. One of these two. One of these two, either Sleepy Joe will win the White House or Crazy Trump will stay in place. We don't know. Trump may win, but we know one thing. We don't want the Democrat Party, and we do not want Sleepy Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have never believed a war is coming, prepare your house, because the militia is in place, the Homeland Security is in place, everyone is in place. The U.S. government is on a brink of war, a real war, a war like you have never seen, a war of inhumanity to man. This is a fight between Great Babylon of the Democrat Party, the lesbian right, the homosexual right. There is viciousness, there is abortion rights, there is lawful rights, all these rights that is ungodly. These are not the rights that you're thinking they should be. These are the rights of Satan, a satanic rights. My black folks and brother, you in the wrong party. But prepare for what's coming. I hope this is not a race war, but I don't know. Only God knows. One of these two men will win this election house. But I believe Trump will win again. Whether he goes to the courts and take the election, or he will win by the votes. But he will win. This is why he put his new judge in place, the Honorable Amy Barrett, because he knows something is coming. He don't know how this will be decided, but he knows a war is coming. Prepare.
Raise your hand if you think that now, more than ever in your lifetime, America's on the brink of civil war.
Clear! Clear! Ready up, bang, forward.
I'm Lori Siegel in rural Michigan, where one of the largest statewide militias is preparing.
Up.
Bang, bang, bang.
Who here believes that their rights are under attack? How many of you guys were in the military? Oh, good number.
Governor of a state like Michigan is going to be a hard job, but it shouldn't carry consequences like these, where if people disagree with you, they want to take your life.
I'm Lori Siegel at the Michigan State Capitol, and behind me you have an armed group of folks. You have members of the Boogaloo Boys.
We gather here today to call on our public servants and political leaders to turn from their sin and reform their ways.
For someone who's never heard of a Boogaloo Boy, how would you explain it?
A lot of people think it's like a group or a team or a militia, when really it's more of a movement. It's people sharing ideas with each other about our individual liberties and how we need to put people before politics and see people for what we have in common.
That all sounds broadly great, right?
Yeah.
But what does that actually mean?
Basically, it's, you know, trying to make a peaceful statement that, hey, government, you know, we see what you're doing, we don't like it.
And the idea is that this is to help you keep peace?
Yep.
There seems to be so much tension mounting around the election. What do you think is going to happen?
I think that whatever happens, you know, people are going to get hurt, people are going to get killed.
Analysts on extremism don't often speculate, but these days they're warning the election in November could be marred by violence.
Election years have been times when we've seen a spike in hate crimes, a spike in hate speech, and also a clustering of extremist activity and plots around election time.
According to the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism, hate crimes have increased in every election year since 1992. One of the worst moments came in the days after the 2016 election.
The civil rights group, the Southern Poverty Law Center, says there have been at least 700 cases of hateful harassment or intimidation since the election.
This year, the country faces a perfect storm. High unemployment, civil unrest, foreign interference, and disinformation online. While the coronavirus pandemic poses new election challenges that could erode voter trust.
And if all these things are being questioned, you could see violence manifest for a whole host of different reasons around the election.
Analysts are assessing who is most likely to commit acts of violence.
These movements often act in response to who it looks like is going to win. So if it looks like folks from the left are going to get elected, the hard, violent right will often respond beforehand or with a rising tide that starts beforehand.
With 940 hate groups tracked across the country last year, extremism experts recently testified on Capitol Hill that white supremacist and nationalist groups pose the greatest threat, spurred by a summer of protests.
I don't think there's a large risk of these groups ever coming together and forming a private army, but I am very concerned of small cell terrorism.
The warning comes after a recent poll by the Democracy Fund Voter Study Group found 11% of Republicans and 13% of Democrats say violence would be at least a little justified if the other party won in November.
Partisan terrorism, violence committed on behalf of one of our two political parties, or on behalf of or against our elected leaders, this really threatens not just the social fabric, but the sort of the political fabric of the American experiment.
The FBI declined to respond to Newsy's questions about what steps are being taken to protect Americans around the election. A spokesperson told us the agency is working closely with federal, state, and local officials to protect our constitutional right to vote so that Americans can have confidence in our democratic process. The National Guard, which could deploy any of its 450,000 personnel to support law enforcement, told us it wouldn't share tactical plans.
In this world, when you have so many idiosyncratic players, you know, guns, bombs, cars, and knives, that's kind of what we're seeing in a variety of different combinations. But the bottom line is we're seeing the advent of do-it-yourselfers who are going out and committing extremism across the ideological spectrum.
Experts hope fear doesn't stop people from voting.
There has been violence used to sort of change the outcome of elections. In the United States, we've been really fortunate that that's been very rare.
Sasha Ingber, Newsy, Washington.
Jess and Yuki, the main job of the National Guard behind me is to protect city buildings like City Hall here, and their main job really is to make sure that there's order in Philadelphia ahead of the election, but it really has been anything but ordinary lately. Board up after board up. This is what it now looks like in Philadelphia's premier shopping district in Rittenhouse Square as businesses keep their guards up in case of any potential rioting. 3 nights of looting this week in Philly has left scores of businesses in shambles.
The National Guard is here now.
The National Guard has been deployed to protect city buildings and landmarks.
We're hoping that their presence at the level of calm and allows the police to go out and to fight crime and to arrest some of these people who are looting and are destroying property.
It's not known exactly how long the Guard will be here.
That is going to be a flexible, also kind of day-by-day deployment solely to provide safety to our neighborhoods.
And with the election just around the corner, some people are happy to see the Guard members.
It would be nice to see us have peace. And I think we all need some peace around here.
Meantime, Philadelphia City Commissioners acknowledge order is necessary to carry out a fair election.
It's paramount to our democracy, and here we are in Philadelphia, the birthplace of that democracy.
The City Commissioners, along with Philadelphia Police and other local departments, are also working closely with state leaders to make sure people can vote Tuesday without any interference.
To make sure that we are all communicating, coordinating, and ensuring that there is a smooth and safe election day.
And again, so while it's not known exactly how long the National Guard will be here, what we do know is the city is imposing another curfew that begins 9 o'clock tonight through 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're live in Center City. I'm Matt Petrillo, CBS 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, Matt, thank you.
Democrats have made it very clear they plan to put Joe Biden in the White House in January, whether he wins the election or not. Watch.
Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances because I think this is going to drag out, and eventually I do believe he will win if we don't give an inch and if we are as focused and relentless as the other side is.
Another angry rich lady. Boy, there are a lot of those around. Well, today, Jeff Bezos' personal newspaper, The Washington Post, reported that violence is likely if Joe Biden doesn't win. But of course not predicted if he does win, which tells you everything. And according to the Washington Globe, Biden's surrogate, John Podesta, has been planning for the possibility that Biden won't concede and that the military will get involved and make sure he's president. It's hard to believe anyone would say that out loud, but people are saying that out loud. So what is going to happen in November? Well, Vince Colonnese has gamed it out. He's a radio show host at WMAL in Washington and an editor at the Daily Caller. We're happy to have him on tonight. Vince, thanks so much for coming on. So what do you think, what are the scenarios? What's likely to happen when election day?
Well, as you know, politics is typically very hard to predict. This one is not hard to predict at all. This election day is setting up to be a dumpster fire, and an unquenchable one, actually. You know, a lot of people think back to the chaos of the 2000 election, pregnant chads, hanging chads, looking at ballots in Florida, thinking, boy, I hope that never happens again. I'm sorry, that is a maskless walk in the park compared to what we're about to experience. And what I mean by that is, this year, experts predict that upwards of 156 million Americans will cast a ballot in the presidential election. That's a huge number. And some 80 million of those will be cast by mail. This is unprecedented. We are overhauling our election system this year in a way that is really meaningful in one of the most fraught political environments that anyone has seen who's alive today. So in order to do that, does the mail system work? Well, there are a lot of question marks about that, especially because we've had so many primaries this year already. And look at what happened in Nevada, in Pennsylvania, in New York, where 84,000 ballots were just disappeared. That was 1 out of every 4 voters not counted for. They were rejected in New York. How could you have a system where a single battleground state is in question because of a lapse like that? That is going to be a disaster.
My sense is that Democrats plan to win this election in the weeks after Election Day with lawyers. So if it's a contest between the parties on the question of who's got more lawyers, the Democrats obviously have a massive advantage. It's the party of lawyers. Do you get the feeling that's their program?
Yes, they have an army of lawyers and again, unquenchable desire to win. You heard it vocalized there by one of the most famous Democrats, Hillary Clinton, saying that under no circumstance should Joe Biden concede this election. John Podesta, as you mentioned, was her campaign chairman. The war game that they gamed out in June was essentially this, that come the election, he would refuse to concede, playing Joe Biden, and that he would challenge the results of the Electoral College. He would manipulate the actual electors to the Electoral College. And in their war game scenario, 3 states, Washington, Oregon, California, all 3 of the states on the Western Seaboard threatened to secede from the Union. And these are not fringe people. This is the center of the Democrat Party, John Podesta. That is a big deal, and they say they want to wait for the military at that point to figure out who's president of the United States. That was, by the way, a scenario where Joe Biden loses the election. It's a gigantic deal. So I think there really is only one solution to all of this, and it's we've got to get the polls open. We have very little time, but it is of immense importance that people vote in person. If Americans can't have confidence in their election system, the whole thing falls apart. We have such low trust in our institutions today at all levels, government, media, everywhere. If you lose faith in your election, that's how you become third world. Open up the polls. Congress can use its compulsory capabilities, threaten funding, force these states to reopen, whatever you have to do. Enfranchise every American voter you possibly can. Because right now, the state's governors are shutting down polls across the country, and it is safe to vote. Doctors Fauci and Dr. Birx, they say it's safe to get in line and cast a vote. Unless you're in that very vulnerable population, then go ahead, cast that mail-in ballot. But we need a lot of confidence in this election result, and we need it quickly.
I think that's a very, very smart point, and it's something that Republicans in Congress, not one of the sharpest groups in America, need to be reminded of. So thank you for reminding us of that.
Open the polls. Thank you. Thank you.
Open the polls.
The wave of violence has now washed across 29 cities, from New York, Los Angeles, New Orleans, Seattle and Minneapolis, ground zero for that anger and outrage now being vented by so many Americans. We have our US team on the ground. Bureau Chief Ashley Mullaney begins our coverage.
Police unleash force in a country gone to hell. A loaded assault rifle snatched by a private guard at gunpoint as officers, dangerously outnumbered, surrounded.
Officers being chased by the group here.
Their cars on fire. Looters take over. As Saturday night anarchy reigns through America. This is Beverly Hills. High-end stores looted, famous shopping centre The Grove cleaned out. And burning. Fairfax near Hollywood, a battleground. LA has survived a history of race riots. It's in one again.
It's one of our darkest days.
Time it's nationwide. New York, under siege.
Leave them alone! Don't get out of here!
In Minneapolis, it felt different.
And the State Patrol has just arrived. We're preparing to take on these protesters and throwing flash grenades right now.
Tonight, police have had enough.
I was not expecting them to come with that much force. Can you, all right?
A force not willing to lose control for another night. Tree.
It's a revolution.
A weekend escalation was the fear. As night fell, America unraveled before our eyes. A block from the White House, buildings burn. The National Guard moving into American streets. Not just the big cities, even Ohio is under attack. A local, the home of country music, Nashville City Hall, is set alight. Violent and now deadly.
The other fear here is... We've heard some gunshots, possibly.
A drive-by in Detroit killed a teenager in the crowd. Curfews are now imposed in multiple states.
Hey, get inside! Get inside!
Here's an arrest. Here comes another one.
From Seattle to Chicago and in the heart of Los Angeles, police begin taking control.
400 years we have been dealing with systemic racism. It has to be a systemic change.
This is not in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. This is chaos.
My administration will stop mob violence, and we'll stop it cold.
Some of the anger directed at the president, stoking tension on Twitter as the mob reached the gates of the White House. Warning protesters have been greeted with the most vicious dogs and most ominous weapons. In Minneapolis, the current epicenter of America's pain and anger, the calls are only growing louder for 3 more officers involved in that deadly arrest to be charged.
Tonight, the growing crackdown on violence marring peaceful protests. In New York City, the earlier curfew after a night of chaos, looters smashing stores, including the iconic Macy's flagship. Hundreds of arrests, and in St. Louis, 4 police officers shot. While in Seattle, our correspondent caught in the middle as police deploy flashbang grenades. Also, store owners taking up arms to defend their businesses. In Los Angeles, the tense moments that played out on live TV. A woman chasing off looters, only for police to arrive on a chaotic scene and put her against the wall. New reporting on who ordered that major show of force outside the White House. Police, backed by National Guard, firing rubber bullets on peaceful protesters. Moments later...
It wasn't demonstrators, but looters who marred the message of peaceful protests with acts of violence. From coast to coast, brazen break-ins as police tangled with criminals. In Midtown Manhattan, Macy's flagship ransacked in Herald Square. Famed Fifth Avenue raided by thieves, smashing windows. After 700 arrests, 8,000 officers can now enforce the city's 8 p.m. curfew. In some of the nation's biggest cities, the night spiraled out of control early. Across the street from the White House, rubber bullets and flash grenades were launched into a peaceful crowd before curfew.
If you believe that our rights are valued, then you believe that this isn't right.
There's violence continue to unfold after 7 nights of protests in at least 140 cities.
You're tarnishing a powerful movement right now. It's not allowing our word to be heard.
With 6 police officers shot and several struck by cars, a plea for the mayhem to end. The National Guard deployed in at least 21 states, including California, where looters again raided stores and shut down the 405.
This is the moment protesters took over one of the busiest freeways in the nation. Traffic has come to a standstill.
Racism here, that's what we're standing against. That's what we want change for, and that's why they're walking with us.
After police in Seattle took a knee, hours later, they picked up their guns, declaring a riot when rocks and bottles were hurled at them. Jolene Kent caught in the crossfire.
Oh my gosh. No.
As police pushed back the crowd.
Look, America! This is not about black anymore. This is not about white. This is about justice for all humans.
This may look like the US Army is on the streets, but in fact these are militiamen with their own alarming agenda. We were witnesses to this extraordinary development, a major US city in the hands of self-confident and heavily armed militias, with police and civic leaders nowhere to be seen. It was a brazen show of strength with an unmistakable message that there are new sheriffs in town.
Rioting and burning and looting is not going to answer that question.
Angry Viking is a militia commander who told me he wants dialogue.
And we're here just to protect the building. That's it. And we're here to do this. Meet and talk. You was going to allow it to happen.
But that dialogue quickly descended into furious arguments. Black Lives Matter activists, who have held a vigil here for 100 days, say the militias are a pure provocation.
Tired, exhausted, worn out. What else do you want me to say?
Do you think it'll end up as a fight?
Yes. People are going to die, bro. People are going to die. I don't know who's going to be.
Which militia are you from? Many of these disparate groups. Which militia are you from? Had no interest in identifying themselves.
So which militia are you from?
We are all Americans here. We're all Americans here. We're all here for the same. We're all here actually against you is what we're here against.
You're impeding me from moving my group that way. Right now, are you not? Yes, you are.
I'm asking you what you're doing here on the streets of this city.
Well, first off, you're not American.
One of the most bizarre features here is this mosaic of different groups. We've got protesters, counter-protesters, we've got militias, we've got other armed groups who refuse to identify themselves. All of it is a recipe for confusion on the streets of Louisville and potentially for chaos.
I'm not going to bring a knife to a gunfight, sir.
And here's the danger. Americans are arming up. Nadia Ford, a grandmother, arrived here with multiple weapons to confront the white militia.
We've tried peaceful for years upon years, and it has gotten us nowhere. They murder us for being peaceful. So only when we stand up do they maybe take us seriously. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to stand up against this hate in America.
Eventually, some police did break cover, and this civil rights lawyer, heavily armed himself, said his aim was to run the militias out of town amid multiple threats to his life.
They said they're going to blow out the back of my brains and they'll find out where I live, etc., etc.
So where is America that a lawyer has to walk the streets with body armor, a pistol, and a long arm?
Thank you. Well, because I'm going to defend myself and I'm not going to be shot down in the streets.
America's militias are emboldened at this volatile moment, emerging out of the shadows in a way I have never seen before.
When I move you to the street, you will load your weapon.
A few miles up the road, we saw a whole new phenomenon. An African-American militia with hundreds of troops. They have a black nationalist agenda. It's as much a cult as a military formation.
This is the NFAC militia. It is well organized and quasi-military. It also proves a militia does not have to be white and right-wing.
As hundreds of their armed followers march through a residential suburb,
I'll call in reinforcements.
we glimpse their mysterious leader. Known as Grandmaster Jay, he is a charismatic but enigmatic figure.
Move, move, move! Clear out!
Fearing assassination, his bodyguards surround him at every moment.
Jay's moving back, y'all. Jay's moving back.
What is clear is that these militias have a new swagger. While the election campaign gathers pace, other forces are showing they will fill the security void after this long summer of protests and violence. Robert Moore, News at 10, in Louisville, Kentucky.
I pledge allegiance to the flag!
Guns at protests are becoming more common. Foreign correspondent attended a rally at Lansing, Michigan, titled "A Well-Regulated Militia."
We're here to demand liberty!
Those in attendance are Trump voters, angry at the ongoing lawlessness across America, threatening to take matters into their own hands.
We are the law of the land!
As we're filming, a group of counter-protesters enter the crowd. They're campaigning for black justice.
Every one of them that fought for our country is ashamed of you!
Tempers flare.
You're a pussy! So you talk to me, I'm gonna talk to you!
Then don't talk!
But it ends without further incident.
And we demand change.
A few days later, at a Black Lives Matter rally in Detroit, more guns and another clash of causes.
We call ourselves the Boogaloo.
So-called Boogaloo Boys, a group of hardcore anti-government libertarians with a dark vision for the future of America.
It's unfortunate that it will turn to war, but it seems that that's the only way.
That may be hyperbole, but the sense of unease on the streets and the guns are real. David Lipson, ABC News, Washington.
We have oatmeal for breakfast.
Leanne doesn't want us to give her last name for fear someone on the internet will track her down and raid her.
This probably would sustain us for 6 months.
She's a bathroom designer by trade, a grandmother, and a Biden supporter, one of millions of Americans getting ready.
We have respirators, we have suits for chemicals.
For anything.
You actually got stuff here for chemical weapons attack.
In case.
What she won't show us on camera is an extraordinary array of guns.
We have an arsenal of guns and ammunition for protection.
Leanne believes America is already in a low-level civil war, which the coming election is unlikely to ease.
This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen.
The uncertainty, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing what people are capable of.
Faith and trust in the American voting system has never been so low. The American president has been telling his supporters for months that the whole thing has been rigged, and both sides have been constructing legal teams ready to contest the outcome here in the US Supreme Court. Down at the local shooting range, Terry Monroe is training up his 12-year-old son.
Just to give him familiarization with what a gun is, a real gun, versus something that you see off of video games, which he plays a lot of.
Have you ever seen America in the mood that it's in at the moment?
Never.
20-year-old Sam Huff just wants people to relax.
Just hug it out and just chill, like.
But for the first time in his life, he is also taking shooting lessons. Shooter Bill Ivory says he fears mayhem when, as he has no doubt will happen, Trump wins.
I just think the liberal left will become unhinged. I look for Antifa and all of those folks just to break loose, especially if it's a really humiliating, overwhelming trouncing that Biden takes.
There are many here who do not believe the polls. Hugh Remington for 10 News First, Stafford, Virginia.
Hi, this is Lisa Cruz. Please listen to the final conclusion by Marlon Palmer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final conclusion of my video. I don't know what to tell you, but if you believe that Donald Trump has your answer and you should vote for him, I don't know what to tell you. I can't give you an advice. Also, if you believe that Joe Biden has an answer for you, I also cannot give you no advice. But one thing I will know, and I will tell you that our prophet says, she says it's better not to vote. They both were two devils, and they both will one day persecute you. So, my recommendation is not to vote for neither one of them. But please, don't make Sleepy Joe and the Democrat Party rule the world. Because life will be unbearable and will be more sinful and may help keep you out of heaven much easier. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to tell you is there is great wars coming on this earth. And people don't believe it, but I believe Trump will win. Not because I want him to win, but I believe he will fulfill the disastrous things of the end times. Because he is not ready for what is coming. He don't even believe what is coming. And this is the devil's plan, to keep a country unprepared. But my friend, get your house together. Prepare for the end. Get your food supplies. Great disaster and chaos is coming. It is coming faster than you believe. And we don't know how bad this election war will be, but it will become murderous. You can see the Boogaloo Boys, the militias, and all these rebel groups with guns preparing for a war. Don't lose your soul in this war. Stay away from these things. Stay away from these marches. Stay away from these protestings and all this tear gassing. Stay away from it. Keep your life right with God, my friends. My brothers and sisters, especially to the Black Lives Matters, God love you. Get away from these homosexuals and these lesbians and these LGBT and all these socialist parties. It is not a good party. These are satanic. These are a satanic childs of the devil. They are not doing the things that God wants you to do. It is not for black people. These are dangerous socialist groups. This is what I want to tell you, because I love you, my brothers and sisters, especially my black brothers and sisters. Get rid of your racism. Join up with all races and become one and all in Christ Jesus. And get away from this Black Lives Matter. And remember, all life matters. And join the kingdom of God. And prepare yourself for the great tribulations, and the great things will come. But you know, my brothers and sisters, Donald Trump will win again. And this time, you will see a side of this man that you have never seen. So, I hope God will bless you. I hope God will protect you and keep you strong, because hard times will come. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final portion of my video. In this conclusion, there are just a few last things I would like to say. And is that this is a serious election. This is a selection about good and evil. And I don't know what you're thinking, but what I am telling you is, don't vote for the Democratic Party. I'm not telling you to vote for Donald Trump, but use your common sense. Matter of fact, I'd rather you not vote at all, because they both are two devils, but one is a greater devil. And the thing is, take this election serious. The world is about to collapse. Neither one of these people can actually fix the world. They can't fix the economy. They can't fix anything. They can just make you promises. Life is going to be horrible. But the thing is, you need to know what to do. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, you need to know what to do. But the thing is, don't vote for the Democratic Party. Donald Trump is not a princess or prince. He is, yes, the President of the United States. And Donald Trump can't fix the world. The only one that can fix the world is God. And he is not God. Therefore, he cannot fix the world. And the thing is, what I'm telling you is, use your common sense. Use your common sense and take this election serious. Prepare all the things you need to prepare, because collapse is coming. These two men will destroy the earth. One will destroy it quickly. The other one will destroy it slowly. And some of the things about the Democratic Party, like homosexuality, abortion, all these rights and LGBT rights and gay rights and trans life matters and black life matters. Some of this stuff is just a little bit outrageous. This is not what God is looking for. This is not a life of a Christian. Therefore, don't vote the Democratic Party. I'm not telling you to vote Republican, but do what you think is best, or don't vote at all. Because they have enough people that will give them what they need. Ladies and gentlemen, please. What I want to tell you is that take this election serious and prepare yourself. Don't be a fool, because a riot is going to come. This is going to be something bigger than George Floyd. This is going to be something bigger than Eric Garner. This is going to be something that is filled with evil. And I do feel sorry for President Trump, because if you know what happened to John F. Kennedy, they may even go that far too, to remove him from the planet. And I would hate to see that, because I love all human beings, even with human beings that I disagree with. Donald Trump is a human being, and his family are wonderful people. But therefore, I wish him the best. I wish the United States of America the best, because there is going to be a war, and the war is here. Do you know what is about to happen? Maybe you don't know, but I do. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say a prayer for this great country, United States of America. Dear Father and our God, the God of the universe, the God of all gods, bless us and give us the knowledge to do the right thing. And do the right thing that we need to do. And bless the decision of the people. We know your coming is soon to come. We don't know when you're coming, but we know you're soon to come. We are in the 6 seals. We are at the very tipping end of the 6 seals. And on the 7th seal is the great earthquakes and all the horrible things of the earth. The closing of probation. And then the coming of Jesus. Therefore, God, give us the knowledge to do the right thing. In the name of Jesus, the name of all gods, in the name of the gracious and merciful God of planet Earth, Lord Jesus. Amen. Brothers and sisters, watch my video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification bell. Share this video. And learn from this video. Make this be an education that you have never known before in your life. Do the right thing. Do the right thing, my brothers. Jesus is coming. And this is going to be a war. I'm only giving you a glimpse of what is coming. But I want you to be ready. Because what is coming is more than what you think. It is a war. It is a war that you could never understand. So therefore, my brothers and sisters, do what God would do. Do unto others as you like others do unto you. Have yourself a great day. Pura vida.
Hi, this is Lisa Cruz. Please let me remind you of one thing about the Democrat Party presidential runner, Joe Biden, plus why you cannot elect Sleepy Joe Biden as your president, because he is mentally unstable, and the radical Kamala Harris will certainly be your president in months or years.
But with just 22 days until you are the ultimate jury and the election takes place, let's turn back to the campaign trail where Joe Biden has finally mustered up the courage to leave his basement bunker for a few hours. In fact, Joe even left his home state of Delaware today, a rare occurrence for the weak, frail, cognitively struggling Democrat. And needless to say, he was totally overwhelmed. At one point, he confused Robert Byrd with Ted Kennedy. At another point, Joe could not even remember Senator Mitt Romney's name, referring to him as that Mormon. Watch this.
You may remember I got in trouble when we were running against the senator who was a Mormon, the governor, okay? And I took him on. No one's face should be questioned.
The Mormon guy, the Mormon. Hold these truths to be something all men are created equal, doubt by the thing, whatever, the thing, God, the creator of everything. So that's how Biden's day began, and it only got worse from there. Mr. Joe 30330 once again struggling to literally completely promote a campaign website. And by the way, maybe somebody on his staff might want to remind the ever-forgetful Joe that he's running for president. He's not running for senator. Keeps forgetting. Forgets the day of the week. Forgets what office he's running for. He's running for president, not senator. Somebody remind him. Take a look.
You know, we have to come together. That's why I'm running. I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate. So vote! Vote! Visit iwill.com/Ohio. God bless you.
Can somebody tell Joe, by the way, it's not a real website, and Joe, you're running for president, not senator, and by the way, that senator, the Mormon guy, is Mitt Romney, not some Mormon governor. Now, sadly, what we showed you, that's just from a couple of hours today, because every time that Joe actually leaves the basement bunker and stays out past 10 a.m., well, disaster ensues. Here's a quick reminder.
Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday, and I want to thank you all. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the you know the thing. If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330. We choose truth over facts. Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone. Make sure the kids hear words. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Donald Trump does pose an extra threat to this. It's not hypothetical.
This is pretty serious. By the way, these are way beyond an occasional campaign gaffe, and I am beginning, well, I'm more than a little worried that this man could represent a clear and present danger to this country. He's obviously not capable of leading. He's been hiding the entire campaign, and the corrupt media mob is covering for him. Joe wants to be the president of the United States of America. That would be the toughest job in the world, and at times, Joe doesn't seem to remember that he's even running for president, or what state he's in, or what day of the week it is. Does anyone really believe that if elected, that Joe Biden will actually be in control of anything? Which then brings up another scary thought. That would be his most radical vice presidential running mate, Kamala Harris. Now, he knows as radical socialist base, they're going to be the ones in charge. That's Kamala Harris, that's Bolshevik Bernie, that's AOC. And by the way, they are saying what their stated plans are to fundamentally transform this country. Court packing, ending the legislative filibuster. What, starting the process to ban the Electoral College, adding D.C., Puerto Rico as states. Oh, 4 more Democrats, so you have a Democratic-run Senate in perpetuity. It would be the biggest power grab in the history of the country. Then they want open borders. Why? They hope all the 11, 15 million people that get amnesty, they're hoping that they will vote Democrat. According to Chuck Schumer, he said it. Everything is on the table. Now at least one emboldened far-left activist group, they've even posted online a guide on how to disrupt and shut down this entire country by force if the 2020 race is too close to call. We'll have more on that coming up in a special report. But first, here is what President Trump had to say about his struggling Democratic opponent and his radical base. Take a look.
Sleepy Joe Biden, not a nice guy, by the way, I have to be honest, not a nice guy. You know, people say, oh, he's such a nice guy. He had a very bad day today. He had a very bad day. You saw what happened. If I ever had a day like he had today, they'd say it's over. It's over. We have somebody running who's not 100%. He's not 80%. He's not 60%. We can't have this. As a country, we can't have it.
Dear viewers, please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the red button and the notification bell, to keep updated with our product and services. We have some very exciting videos that will amaze you in overseas publishing and printing, beautiful gallery art, natural health, dangerous foods, and optimal nutrition, end-time climate disasters, Bible prophecies, and many, many more. Please subscribe, this is the channel you've been looking for. Please also, send a donation if you have been beautifully educated and this video has been helpful to you by MoneyGram. Thank you dearly.